when people talk about like living life at its highest potential, I always wanted to dig deeper. Like, what are you actually saying by that? I've come to kind of think of that as like, are you operating at the fringes of your abilities? Are you kind of working at that perimeter of where your abilities are? And when you hit that, you know you're at the perimeter when you have fear. Because fear is kind of that recognition of, I don't know what's going to result from this. I'm not sure. I don't feel comfortable. And so, in a lot of ways, it seems like a flow state is kind of this like reward for experiencing, the expanded edge of your potential.
You're absolutely correct in a lot of different ways. Let's start kind of on the beginning. The most famous flow trigger of all is a psychological trigger known as the challenge skills ratio. What this means is we pay the most attention to what we're doing when the challenge, the task at hand, slightly is the key, exceeds our skill level. So you definitely want to stretch. You are outside your comfort zone, right? But you don't want to snap. If you push too far, and we see this, by the way, peak performers, high performers make this mistake all the time. If you're wired like me, you will take on tasks that are 30% greater than your skill set, 40% greater, 50%, just because you're wired that way. And the truth of the matter is you actually got to go for slightly smaller challenges. And the secret isn't the big risk leap, right? It's a little bit every day, but you have to commit to it every day and every day and every day. And you're right, flow is sort of the reward for pushing outside your comfort zone and for when you get to level up, right? When a flow state shows up, it means that all those skills you were trying to learn, whatever, they've come together, right? They've come together and you're getting these emergent properties, these elevated properties as a result. But it's absolutely the payoff, and it's a real payoff, right? Flow is incredibly intrinsically motivating. People talk about it as the source code of intrinsic motivation. So once an experience starts producing flow, you go really far out of your way to get more of it.
Yeah, and so taking that realization of it's 4%, right? Roughly that's what they've discovered is like 4% outside of your abilities. However the hell you measure that, I don't know.
Okay, and I have to say that number, and we're really cautious with that number. Back of the envelope calculation between Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, so the godfather of flow psychology, and a Google mathematician. And they said, God, we think it's a 4% difference.
Okay.
We said, what the hell is that? That doesn't make any sense, but it's interesting. So what I literally did is I mapped the place I ski and the place I mountain bike, and where I was as a rider, where I was as a skier, and how difficult every obstacle, whatever. And I tried just to push 4% over the course of a season. Let's just see, does this work, right? And what I discovered is two things. First of all, I didn't plateau. You normally in a season, a couple flow states early on, things get exciting, and I plateau. My skills plateau until the very end of the season. I didn't plateau. I kept advancing, kept advancing, kept advancing. And the same thing happened in ski season. The next year I said, okay, that was crazy. I tried it. I had a bunch of friends try it, and we ran a loose experiment. It worked for them as well. So that number is so unvalidated. It's not even, we shouldn't even be talking about it out loud. And where it is hard to find, of course, and totally individual. But I do think it's kind of accurate. I wish we could quantify it better.
Yeah, and so when you're on the mountain, you kind of looked for, this looks maybe 10 feet bigger of a drop than I'm used to, which is about maybe 5% more.
I used a combination of my own fear level. How much did this thing scare me? From like where I am now, I said, okay, here's a 10-foot road gap. Here's a 5-foot tabletop jump. Well, the 5-foot tabletop jump, totally my skill set, sweet spot. The 10-foot road gap, that scares me too much. So 4% is probably right in the middle. And let's find a 7-foot road gap or something. That thing. Totally loose, totally informal. But the good thing about, especially downhill mountain biking, is because they're fixed obstacles. They don't move. I know, on Monday, if I jump a 5-foot gap, it's 5 feet on Tuesday as well, right?
Yeah.
So it allowed me to kind of stay in like 4%. I could actually do it mathematically a little. So again, not rigorous, but the effects I got were so astounding. And so in 2 seasons doing this, I think I progressed as much as I did the previous 10 years as an athlete. I've never seen anything like it, right? Now, I have tried very hard to apply those same things in my writing as a creative, right? This is flow. It's not the action sport athletic stuff is fun. My business is writing. I got to put words together in a straight line every day, no matter what, right? So creativity requires a lot of flow, all this stuff. So I found that 4% for me, that sweet spot is, I feel like I'm being a little too honest. Like I'm showing you a little bit too much of myself in my writing, and I'm laying out or I'm laying out an idea for in public that is a little farther than I've ever, pushed my ideas before in public and talked about it. So like a little bit uncomfortable. When I'm a little bit uncomfortable, I know my writing is in that sweet spot. So, it's hard to apply. It's very individual, and you have to conduct the experiment. We say this at the Flow Genome Project over and over and over again. Nobody can do your push-ups for you. You have to conduct the experiment, right?
If what you've heard on Flow Research Collective Radio has been helpful, please consider doing us a solid and leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening to this. Reviews help us connect to a wider audience so we can get these peak performance principles out to more people.